Hey guys, Thingfishy here and welcome to episode 7 of my in-depth parry guide series. The series that digs a little deeper into parrying notable enemies and bosses in Elden Ring. For those of you for which the standard blanket parrying advice of parry the hand and not the weapon isn't quite working yet. And today we're looking at Morgott, the Omen King. Now this is the first demigod we've encountered in this series, and the first parryable one we meet in the game. So as you might expect, this is by far the most complex fight I've covered in this series. This fight, along with the earlier Margit fight, is a fight all about knowing when to be right on top of him and super aggressive, and when to play a lot more passively and give him lots of room. You want to focus your attention on parrying the parryable attacks, whilst getting completely out of the way of everything else. Another thing to note before we get into this fight is that Morgott is the first example of an enemy who takes 3 successful parries before being opened up for a riposte. Now Morgott has a lot of attacks and most of them aren't parryable, so we're going to go through them in roughly the order that they become important in the fight. So first up we have a few unparryable attacks that we can expect to see in phase 1. He usually starts the fight with this lightning spear attack. You can dodge this by rolling here when his sword drops and his body begins to rotate. His hammer jump from Margit's moveset can be dodged by rolling here when you see him start to descend towards you. This quick lightning attack can easily be avoided by rolling to the right at the very top of his swing. He'll sometimes follow this with another swing that you'll be safe from if you've dodged the first correctly. His lightning throw is a slightly beefed up version of Margit's throw and can be dodged by rolling here when you see the daggers leave his hand. Now this sliding swipe is roll catch city. You want to wait until the last possible moment here and only dodge right here when you see his sword begin to rotate clockwise. Now for the spear charge attack. You want to dodge this right before the tip of the spear touches your character. Next up we have his overhead hammer swing. You want to dodge here just as you see the hammer leave the ground. Now let's talk about the ones that you want to parry. First up we have an overhead slash attack which can be parried here as his hand is at its furthest point away from you. Next up we have an overhead horizontal slash that you want to parry here when his hand is at its highest point. Now onto this overhead backhand slash. This can be parried by inputting here as his hand reaches its highest point in the swing. Then onto this overhead stab, which can be parried here as his weapon is drawn back to its furthest point. Then we have this horizontal hammer attack which can be parried. You want to input here as you see him raise his sword towards his head. And finally we have this last attack which seems to be designed to be completely spiteful to anyone who learned to parry Margit. This horizontal slash has an identical start up to Margit's easily parryable version. However, if you parry here where you would have parried Margit, Morgott will slap you in the face as your parry animation finishes in From Software's cruelest parry catch. You actually want to parry here after his pause just as you see his body begin to rotate towards you. Now unlike Margit, who will always follow a successful parry with another parryable attack, Morgott will not. So let's look at the most common attacks you'll have to evade between these parries. First up we have this upward slashing combo. The best thing that you can do here is get yourself completely out of the way of this one. If it's too late for that however, I've found that tanking the first hit and rolling the second to be a consistent replacement. Next up we have this twirling combo. Now again, your best option here is to have already anticipated this attack and to have run away from it. However, if he does this attack when he's right on top of you, the best method I found for avoiding it is to tank the very first hit and then follow it up with a quick double roll to avoid the rest of this devastating combo. Now for his sword shower attack. He'll start doing this when he reaches around 80% health. You want to watch the formation of the swords in the air here and make sure that you're clear of them. If you're too close to see them, I found that going to his 10 o'clock position around level with his left arm to be safe 90% of the time. Now as soon as he finishes this attack, he'll usually follow it up with another devastating and hard to dodge hammer combo, so always anticipate this after the shower attack and give him plenty of room in order to avoid it. Now at around 50% health, Morgott will stagger and start his second phase with an AoE explosion. Now while you might be tempted to just run away in anticipation of this, his stagger animation here gives us room for free damage, so you want to keep attacking him until you see his first cough, then run away. Depending on your build and the opportunities to attack it gives you, you may even wish to just tank this attack in order to get in some extra damage. It does about 50% of my health and I'm at 30 vitality, so it's unlikely to one-shot anyone at full health. Whether this is a good idea or not, I leave to you. So now on to phase 2, and it's a bit of a nightmare really. Just like Margit's phase 2, the play here is to close the distance and wait for parryable attacks and give him loads and loads of room for his combos. In phase 2, he has many seamlessly endless combos that can easily stagger lock you to death if you're right on top of him when he starts them. Keep your distance and wait for those easier parryable phase 1 attacks. The two notable new attacks in phase 2 that you really do need to learn are these two blood flame attacks. The first is this blood flame slash, which although it shares its start up with an easily parryable Margit attack, cannot be parried. You want to roll this here when you see his body begin to move to the right, or if you have space, just completely run away from it. The second attack is this blood flame stab grab attack, which deals huge damage. You can avoid being caught by this by dodging just as his body begins to move towards you. And that's it, how to parry Morgott. Now I'm probably going to return to this fight at a later date to specifically talk about dealing with some of those phase 2 combos. From shooting this video, I can imagine Morgott being a complete nightmare for a strength build. So I can see him being completely worthy of a more specific how to dodge video in the future when I try to bonk him with a big bonky stick. For a parry strategy though, just being passive and getting out of the way will be enough. As always, thanks for watching and I hope you found this video useful. See you soon.